you ever wanted to know. So we will park down until later on in the show. We've talked a lot about this story. Instead, we will rejoice in the beauty of Mo.
Comes now to Henderson inside the area, brings it to the end line, takes it to the back post, and Liverpool have got in front, and Sadio Mane scores in front of the Kop, and Anfield has gone absolutely wild. Salah takes the shot. Oh, Mo Salah with one of the goals of the season, 25 yards out, smashes a shot into the top corner of the net, and Liverpool are going back on top of the Premier League, and Mo Salah is back to his very, very best. It's Liverpool 2, Chelsea 0. Mo Salah, pick it out.
What a goal! Unbelievable!
Gavin Kilban and Nathan Murphy calling the action. Pat Nevin, what a goal. Unbelievable. Perfect timing. We have lost.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Boyle Sports. Now with same-day withdrawals to your Visa debit card.
European rugby's two most successful clubs meet at the Aviva Stadium. This Easter Sunday, April 21st, Leinster Rugby take on Toulouse in the Heineken Champions Cup semi-final. Kick-off at 3:15 p.m. With 8 European Cups between them, it's unmissable. Tickets start from €25 for an adult. Buy them now at ticketmaster.ie. Booking fee applies.
This Irish success story is brought to you by Guaranteed Irish.
Did you know that Kingspan, global leaders in energy-efficient buildings, employs over 10,000 people across 5 continents? A global company with local roots, Kingspan also supports over 900 jobs in Cavan. Guaranteed Irish helps you support companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So, look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Over 2 centuries, one family business in Dublin has earned a name for excellence in funeral care. Every day they continue to work hard to retain that good name. The name is Fannigans. Dubliners trust Fannigans to take care of them on their final journey with empathy, compassion and dignity. And Fannigans never forget whose journey it is. In over 200 years, some things don't change. Fannigans, when your thoughts are with them, ours are with you. The Fannigan Group includes Carnegie's, Kirwins and Nichols.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Sorry about that. Second time lucky. Pat, are you there?
I certainly am.
My God, you would not believe the panic you caused in the box out there. JP jumped up as if the world was about to end. And it did. It almost did, he said. It's your fault. It's your fault, Nevin.
No, it's not my fault. It's the computer's fault. So if any computer specialist said, we've been doing this for years, and the last twice we've done it, my computer, which has worked all day, every day, except for 1 second before I come on air with you, and it just crashed. It's never happened before. It's only happened twice, and it's the last twice. So there's got to be something wrong with Skype in my computer, so my apologies. No,
you're fine. You're fine. We lived. We had just played you the commentary of Mo Salah's goal, which was a beautiful thing, and Kevin Kilban, kind of half laughing, just called it unbelievable. It was an amazing strike. It was an amazing moment.
It was. See, Kevin Kilban's view wasn't as good as mine. I was a good 1.5 yards closer to it than he was. You were sitting 2 seats apart when it went in. No, it was brilliant. It was kind of odd. It was well deserved, apart from anything else. But all the stuff that you've kind of got used to Mo Salah from last season, and then you thought you're not getting it as often, and it's not quite as brilliant. And then he does something like that, and it was a thing of fabulous beauty. And that line of being right behind it as well, you know, knowing that the goalkeeper hadn't got a chance in the world of getting there. And he played really well generally in the entire game. You know, he was involved obviously in the first goal as well. And back to something approaching his best. And he was actually doing the odd thing. He was actually doing a bit of defending as well, which he kind of, I think he'd given that up for Lent and Christmas before that. He's away doing a wee bit of that as well. So the whole thing, he was great. But that was the thing about Liverpool. Liverpool's energy levels were just fantastic. You know, every single player was up for it. And I thought, you can't keep that up, can you? Yes, they could, and yes, they did.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And how did Chelsea try and go about their business?
Well, it was that odd thing of they decided to put Hazard up front as the false 9 or the 9. And it's worked once or twice. It's kind of almost a 50-50 with them. They try and kind of soak up a bit of pressure, wait for the other team to run out of steam, and then pass away any dangerous positions. Now, I've watched that fail a few times, and I've watched it really work well. I don't know if you remember the Carabao Cup final. Chelsea did exactly the same, and slowly but surely grew into the game and with a better side by the end of it, and were unlucky not to win by penalty. So I understood what Sarri was trying to do.
Yeah.
But it did look a bit insipid in comparison to Liverpool. And that tiredness, which they were expecting to happen, and that kind of falling off a bit, just did not happen. I mean, Chelsea had that little period where Hazard had 2 chances. But, I know I'm not how to. I want to win. I mean, I would like Chelsea to win, but I also say I know who should have won. It was 100%. It should have been Liverpool.
Yeah.
And had Chelsea got those 2 goals, they wouldn't have deserved them.
Liverpool went about their business with real intent as well. Like, there were numerous occasions, even in the first few minutes, where they had players in the box, where they were trying to attack, where they were trying to press and squeeze, and you've mentioned the intensity. This was a real fill-up, or a real confidence-inspiring performance, given they've had some white knuckle rides of late.
Yeah, and I think there was a bit of, they've looked ahead at what their games are after the Chelsea game and thought, we can win all them.
Yeah.
This is the one. And, and I think Klopp doesn't always ask them to play, with that, that pressing game for the entirety of the game, or certainly for the first half an hour, 45 minutes even, in all the games these days, because it would wear them out. It would absolutely exhaust them. But I think they felt, no, it's worth it at this time. This time, put everything in there. You've got the Kop behind you. Obviously, there was the feeling and the emotion that was involved in the 30 years memorial of Hillsborough as well beforehand.
Yeah.
So everything on top of it, you just thought, well, you expected them to score in that first half. They should have scored. They were the better team, as I say. They missed a few chances. Kepa had a couple of saves, but you just thought if Chelsea could hold up for like 15 minutes in the second half, there was no chance that was going to happen, because they'd started it again. It was that high tempo. Chelsea all the game was just played in front of the Kop for that second half, the start of that second half. So, I think that was the plan. The plan was back to, heavy metal football, closed down, high up the pitch, everything done at a really rapid pace. Chelsea just couldn't live with it. I don't think Liverpool can do that every week. I think when they try and do that every week, they run out of steam.
Yeah.
But there's now and again the odd game you do it for, and that was the right one, and it was the right choice.
The remaining fixtures certainly suggest that. So it's Cardiff away on April 21st, that's a Sunday, and then Huddersfield home, Newcastle away, and Wolves at home. That looks, in so much as you can hope for in the Premier League, that looks very doable. Manchester City's fixtures, the day before that Liverpool game against Cardiff, City have Spurs, and then 4 days later, they have Manchester United at Old Trafford. So things now get very, very, very interesting. City aren't blowing teams away, but equally it's not white knuckle ride last minute goals either.
No, it's not. And just watching the game at the weekend there, before we all went upstairs, we were sitting downstairs in the press room watching, and there was not many people in that press room wanting Manchester City to score. But they just looked as if they could turn it on when they fancied it. And it's kind of, when you see De Bruyne coming back and beginning to have that sort of influence, you just get a feeling like they really needed him now. They really needed him to step forward and start affecting games, and he's really beginning to do that. And it's sometimes you get a player in that's been injured for a while, or coming back from injury, it takes a while, but when he's fully back, it's like getting a brand new player in the squad. And if you get one of them right near the end of the season, and he's a top-class, world-class player, that should make a bit of a difference. So without De Bruyne coming back onto that form, I think Man City would be really quite worried. Now they're just mildly concerned. But they've got a lot of big games coming up. You've got this one during the week here, which isn't going to be a piece of cake, obviously, against Spurs.
Yeah.
Champions League, they need to go for that, but they can't hold back in that one. They've got a cup final waiting for them at the end of the season, although I suspect that is the last thing in their mind, and probably the least important thing as well. So it's not going to be easy for me. Every time somebody goes down a little bit of an injury, I'm sure Pep Guardiola is really worried. I mean, he's got plenty of cover, in the wide area. He's got a bit of cover up front, but he wouldn't want a Fernandinho or another centre-back injured. I think he would really be concerned if that happened. But at the moment, I can't even call them favourites. I don't know what you think, Joe. I don't know if you can really call them favourites. I think it's absolutely evens between the two of them.
There's always a really interesting dynamic as well when a team plays another team in such quick succession 3 times, let alone 2 times. So Spurs, what did you make of last week? We had Kenny Cunningham in here, and he said before the game, especially when he saw the City team, he really fancied Spurs to beat them.
Yeah, and it's kind of odd because Spurs have come back off that period, was at 1 point in 15, and you kind of worried about them then because you weren't getting the best out of Eriksen. Obviously Kane's now injured, which changes the dynamic once again, although his replacement didn't do too bad with a hat-trick at the weekend. But I mean, Spurs have got this thing that I think it's still there, that when push comes to shove at the end of the season, they blow it. They keep on doing it. They've been doing it for a few years now, and they've almost completely blown it this time again by going on that dreadful run. And I wouldn't want to be dependent on Spurs to do me a favour. I'd put it that way. I mean, I put it as harshly as that. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to wildly get through in the Champions League and then get well beaten in the league game. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. The Spurs are just not a team that can do it. And of course, the big thing about Spurs is the new ground. It's not like the question was asked, I think, by many of us, is it going to be another Arsenal with a new stadium? It takes ages for it to really start having an effect. No, absolutely not. It's having a brilliant effect on them. But away from home, I'm just not so sure about them at the moment. So if I was like Liverpool fans, I would grit my teeth until they ground and started breaking and decide to be a Man United fan for a weekend.
What was interesting, so Solskjaer is obviously doing his press ahead of the Barcelona game, and he's trying to avoid talking about 1999. He keeps being asked about it. He doesn't want that to become his kind of shtick, you almost feel. Yeah. But there was an interesting piece by John Delaney saying that staff at Carrington and Solskjaer are unhappy, might be too strong a word, but they're not loving the physical conditioning that was done over the summer. And I know this is the kind of thing that always pops up when a new manager takes over, but there's a concern that there's been a real loss of energy and a drop in performance level over the past few weeks, and that the high-intensity game plan that Solskjaer wants and was able to kind of draw from the team in the first 2 months has fallen off drastically in the last few weeks. I don't know, does it boil down to energy? But certainly they're not what they quite were when Solskjaer first took the job. And maybe it is energy, maybe it is fitness, and we saw a few injuries when he first took over, but they're not quite pumping the way they were when he first got the job.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, they were all pumped up and excited because quite a lot of them wanted Mourinho, and that's one reason for it. Certainly another reason, a little bit of freedom, that helps a bit as well. Blaming, I mean, who do you blame about the conditions? Do you blame Mourinho? Well, he didn't always get the start to the season that he wanted because of the travels that they had to do. And more important than that, the World Cup. That's going to affect everybody at different times. It's from these top teams. I mean, certainly Pogba, you can see that without a shadow of a doubt that it's affected him. He's had such up and down times in the season. Some days he's got that, he absolutely bestrides games and he just looks like an adult playing with children. Another game's the game I was at recently at Wolverhampton. He was completely overrun. He just didn't look as if he could get around the pitch. Right. And he couldn't get past anyone. So, who are you going to blame for that? Yeah, the conditioning might be questioned, but, Rashford, Lukaku, they all played in the World Cup really, really late into the World Cup. So that's it's hard for them to actually point the fingers at anyone. No point in doing that now. Just go on and get as good as you can get out of those players between now and the end of the season. I have to say, this dip I was absolutely expecting. I did not expect that run, and it was an amazing run that Solskjaer got from the start. I just couldn't see that team was set up to keep on going that way. So this is not. I don't find this surprising at all. Yeah, they're at the Camp Nou this week, obviously. So I mean, it was by Champions League knockout stages standards, it was a pretty mundane game at Old Trafford. Yeah, it was. If you wanted a little bit more class involved in it. Oddly enough, forget Man United, I was slightly disappointed by Barca, to be fair. They never really broke out to a kind of level that I kind of hoped for them. Just because you want to see the best players and the best teams in the world playing really well. And you just wonder, I still wouldn't put my money on Barca to win the Champions League. I mean, they've got Messi. You know, absolutely, you can't count them out, and I wouldn't count them out. But to be favourites, I wouldn't necessarily say that. The last time I looked, even Real Madrid are getting beaten in La Liga tonight. So it's kind of weird, that league. They're just throwing that league away, you know, forgetting about that league and thinking, right, okay, everything going to these Champions League games. And that's the thing that Barca have got, apart from everyone else, you know, that I think left in the competition, is the fact that, yeah, maybe we're not as good as we were, but we know how to do it, so that might help them. Still, I don't know. I'm not sure they're even close to the team that they have been in the past.
Yeah. Anything else grab you from the weekend? You usually spot something.
No, oddly enough, I was spending so much time going down to see the Chelsea-Liverpool game. I was completely and utterly on that. And I'll be absolutely brutally honest with you, Joe, and anyone who's listening, I was just gutted that I never got to see the end of the Masters and the moved it forward. I was just dying to see that. Every now and again, football has to take a wee bit of a back seat, and I wanted to see that. And I was driving up the road when Woods won it, and I don't know, there'll be lots and lots of debates about the great comebacks in history, and we've all seen them in football. I don't know, that one takes a lot of beating, to be fair.
Oh no, I haven't thought of one that beats it. I could lie to you and tell you, it wasn't that good. You didn't miss much, but it was one of the most memorable days of sport viewing ever, and you missed it.
Thanks, that's brilliant. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I listened to it in the radio on the way back up, and I drove home. I had that 4-hour drive home from where I lived to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then I got in, and then I'd recorded it, and I watched the last 45, 50 minutes live. So
that's not so bad. That's not so bad. Was that the 5 Live commentary? They do an unbelievable job.
They did. They may have just get pipped by the pictures, to be fair. Yeah. I thought the pictures that were coming in were absolutely unbelievable. Tiger walking off at the end. But it was not. It was really good commentary. And funnily enough, that 4-hour drive didn't feel like 4 hours when you listened to that. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, hey, you see some great sporting things sometimes, and now and again something extra special comes along. I've had a few of them this season, but certainly in the whole sporting world, that one will stick with you. I mean, when he won was it professional championship? I can't remember the one he won last year.
Yeah,
I thought that was amazing enough.
Yeah,
to then go and take the Masters, just unbelievable. So, like many other people, I'm going to get the clubs out and get out there again.
Best intentions. Literally, it was unbelievable. What's the greatest comeback in football? Is it Liverpool in Istanbul?
I could be right up there for it. Yeah, because of when it happened, you know, and you know. Most of us have ones that we remember where I can remember 3-1 down in a game, 3-0 down in a game, we drew 4-4.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of us have got personal little ones for that. But in actual fact, if you do it in a Champions League final, be fair, that's hard to beat. So I'll definitely give Liverpool that one in Istanbul.
I have no doubt there is a deep psychological thesis to be written about the nature of comebacks. When you were on a pitch and it was either going against you or going for you, and I presume you could sense it and sense the momentum change. Is it possible to boil it down as to what prompted it? Or like, is it individuals? Like, do you get together as a group? Can it just be a moment happens and changes the momentum? Like, they're fascinating things. I haven't actually spotted a pattern.
By the way, can I throw in another comeback?
Yeah.
Scotland against England this year in the rugby.
Oh, yeah.
That was up there with the best that I've ever seen of any comebacks in any sports. Just before half-time, that was a murdering, and they got back. And if they could have just held on that extra few seconds at the end, that to me would have just about taken the biscuit of anything I'd ever seen. But it was right up there as well. You know, psychology is really interesting because, you know, you need someone. If you're, say, 2 or 3 down and you're getting back into it, the reason being most of the time is you don't give a stuff anymore. You've nothing to lose. And if you've got that devil-may-care thing all sort of coursing through the team, and then you just smell that wee bit of fear, and the team just, it's the most natural thing in the world, they sit back a little bit. You think, oh, cheers, you've just made it easier for us. Thanks very much. It is psychologically, it's the oldest thing in the world, you know, and you can feel it when it begins to happen. A crowd, i.e. a home crowd panicking, or, you know, because they're getting, or an away crowd, you know, getting behind you. Any of those things can make that little bit of difference, but it is pure psychology. The biggest thing when that sort of thing happens is quick movement by either the skipper, but more specifically the manager. If the coach doesn't see it, and funnily enough, the one guy I used to think was a wee bit average at that was Arsene Wenger. he always looked a wee bit rabbit in the headlights when things were going wrong in comparison to others who really, really changed it and changed it quickly. And funny you should ask it, at the game at the weekend, Chelsea got a goal now, 1 goal down with that goal. And I'm doing the commentary, I'm saying, right, change it now. You must change it now. You have to change it now because it's not working. And also, if you lose another goal, it's finished. Come on, get on with it. So that was, as soon as the goal was scored, that was my reaction to it. Took them 4 minutes. Sadly for them, the goal was scored 3 minutes later and they were gone, they were dead. So, you need to be able to make those adaptations really, really quickly. And the psychology of the players changes when you make those changes as well.
Pat, thanks for that. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, I'm going to go and get a new damn computer.
No arguments here. Okay. Thanks a million. Cheers. Pat Nevin there. Dan McDonald's had a busy afternoon, as you might imagine, hanging outside a hotel by the airport, waiting for the FAI to conclude their board meeting and then subsequently release that statement. We'll do a final check-in on the day's events with Dan next.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Get the latest News Talk podcasts at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
The Moncrief Show is on the road again, and this time we're going to Galway. Movies and Booze will be coming to you live from the 12 Hotel in Barna, just outside Galway City, on Friday the 19th of April. With that wine, delicious food, great music, and all the fun and devilment that Movies and Booze has to offer. To be part of the audience, go to newstalk.com/events for tickets. Over 18s only.
Movies and Booze on Moncrief.
Sure, what else would you want on a Friday?
Brought to you by Lidl's award-winning wine range.
This and every Friday on News Talk.
That's the sound of Sarah, enjoying a walk in the fresh spring weather while her Bosch 9kg washing machine does all the hard work at home, with no noise, thanks to the Eco Silent System. She got this Which Best Buy award-winning washing machine from Harvey Norman for the low price of €529, saving her €40. Plus, she got a €35 one-for-all voucher with this washing machine. For more great savings on Bosch, visit Harvey Norman, in-store or online.
Go! Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Now, Dan McDonald of the Irish Independent is with us. You're there, Dan?
I am there, yes.
Where is there these days? Are you still outside the Carlton Hotel?
I am, yeah. Just about to leave the Carlton Hotel, Joe. Hopefully a day's work done and some stuff written, trying to sort of apply some clarity to what happened today. But it feels like, a lot of days like this, and whatever day 29 or 30 we almost are at now, I've had obviously quite a few FAI statements along the way, and unanswered questions seems to be a recurring phrase, and it's one that springs to mind again.
So give us the timeline today.
Well, the timeline of today was trying to find out what the meeting was first, which took a bit of time, to be truthful, and after an attempt to do that, it was achieved eventually. Around mid-afternoon, I guess. The FAI had been here at that point for some time, since around 11 a.m. this morning, I believe. John Delaney had arrived after that, and then John Delaney was there with the FAI board for the afternoon. Both parties had legal representation here, and around, 4:45 or so, John Delaney left on his own, came down the lift, and was greeted by camera crews and stampers, and I assume a lot of people have seen that by now. And he departed without making any comments whatsoever. So, in fact, no one made any comment. The statement was the only comment today. All the board members that went by either said nothing at all or just made references to people following them, but not actually substantively answering any questions in any way at all. At all, in fact.
So the definitive news based on the statement is that Michael Cody, he's the honorary secretary, he was one of 3 people, along with Tony Fitzgerald and John Delaney on the board, who knew about the €100,000 loan. Michael Cody and honorary treasurer Eddie Murray, who people would have seen in action at the Oireachtas Committee last Wednesday, have voluntarily resigned from the board. That's fairly definitive and straightforward news. John Delaney, meanwhile, according to the statement, has offered to voluntarily step aside from the FAI with immediate effect, pending the completion of an independent investigation into issues of concern to the board. They don't say which report for a start. They don't say if it's Grant Thornton, Mazars or another investigation. Has that been cleared up?
No, and I'm not able to answer that question, to be honest. and have made attempts to have that question answered, and essentially that question hasn't been answered. So that is unclear. I mean, the phraseology of the statement is it's sort of nuanced, and I guess and this is just my opinion, almost like deliberately so, in the sense that they have to, obviously, I think every sentence has been thought through in great detail, in the sense of not giving too much away. What do you take from that? I mean, I don't know what you take from that, but obviously there are legal people involved, and there is a process here, and the elements of the process will involve a degree of confidentiality and will involve a degree of, I suppose, vagueness to a degree, because processes are ongoing. So anything that you say while that is ongoing can probably, there's probably a risk attached with that. So that's probably why they have to do it. But it is very frustrating for the people from the outside who I guess after 4 weeks of this just want it to be over, I think, to a degree, in the sense that they want some bottom line, some result. I mean, it's just, people follow sports stories. They're used to results. There isn't a result here yet. We're involved in some kind of game that's ongoing, and we have another date in the Dáil tomorrow now. It's going to just bring more headlines. And I mean, as reported today, I mean, there's bigger grant funding and projects now that are caught up in this. And the longer this delay goes on, the more the uncertainty around those continues, which just isn't good for anyone involved, regardless of your opinion of them.
I would agree with you that the line around Delaney is vague. It's almost impressively vague, actually. It's one of the more impressive feats of the last number of weeks. So, it could mean any number of things. It could certainly mean that John Delaney hasn't offered a resignation. Stuart Kilhooly, PFAI solicitor, he was tweeting about it. He reckoned that maybe the FAI board had received legal advice that even if they wanted Delaney to go, say, and we're talking in the hypothetical here quite obviously, that in the absence of a resignation, that really, legally, they would need to carry out an investigation before taking further action, before removing John Delaney in effect from the board. They would need to carry out an investigation to cover themselves legally. So that could be one kind of situation at play at the moment. The other one, of course, could be that they're just buying time and they're maybe trying to ride this thing out. And who knows, maybe an independent investigation will vindicate John Delaney and the board, and the vast majority of them see out this storm. That could also be another possibility. We don't know. Am I missing a third? Is there more going on here potentially?
No, I think that covers the eventuality. I did see Stuart's tweet that you referred to, and obviously, he's a legal expert, so he'd have more awareness of this process than we would, to be fair. And it certainly does tally with, I suppose, the chat around it, that, it's not just... last week, for example, last Wednesday in the Dáil, John Delaney was represented by a legal advisor. The FBI had spoken to people, but didn't have them there with them, whereas obviously they had someone there with them today. And I don't think it's a leap to say that their position has been guided by legal advice. You are right. The second scenario you pose, all scenarios are technically open to being possible now at this point, because of the lack of clarity. So people can almost speculate in whatever way they want about what the process and what the result might be. What you would say is that John Delaney would previously have walked into a room containing the existing members of the FAI board. Until a couple of weeks ago, he was the CEO on that board. He was a member of the board, and it's fair to say that main allies on the board would have been people such as Michael Cody and Eddie Murray, have been there all the time. So now that they have voluntarily resigned from the board, I guess the makeup of the board is slightly different in terms of personalities on the board. So it's not necessarily the board that John Delaney knew that is from which the subcommittee has been put forward to look into these matters in tandem with the inquiry. So obviously John Delaney's position with the FAI has changed, and I would argue that the point of view that at the end of this process, in some ways, things will return to normal there. I don't think so. I would have written this morning that this is ultimately, this is a process towards the process towards resolving his future, and it's hard to see him being in the FAI long term, and that would be my position on it.
Do you think today was a good day or a bad day for John Delaney?
I don't think it was a good one, to be honest.
Even in the context of a weekend full of reports that really all that was being discussed was his severance package.
Yeah, no, I suppose, on Saturday the report was that, he had told friends, and we've all heard John O'Regan, I think, comment that he had volunteered his resignation with a view to Monday. And if things had ended today, things would have ended. And his view on Saturday was, he would stay with UEFA, but it appeared that his time was up with the FAI. I think that was the phrase that was used in some of those text messages. Although he did subsequently clarify that he's not gone yet. I mean, yet was even an interesting word in that context. However, what we now have...
Well, it suggests someone keen on staying on.
Yeah, no, I suppose you can look at it both ways. Yeah, you look at it both ways. But the only thing I would say is that now, that John Delaney's position hinges on an ongoing investigation. We don't know which specific one. And there's issues of concern. I just think that how that's reported, not just in Ireland but also outside Ireland, that John Delaney is the subject or is a part of an ongoing investigation. That's not necessarily like a clean break. This is a story that carries on, and you are right, he could be wholly vindicated at the end of it, but I'm just not sure if that would have been the resolution that he would have sought. Only he can answer that, but I would struggle to describe it as a good day.
Do we have any timeline on how long this independent investigation may take?
No, and I think that's something that really needs to be established tomorrow. I know the FAI aren't there tomorrow. It's between Sport Ireland and the Oireachtas Committee, but I think they need, and Shane Ross, of course, who's the new player, and I think we need clarity on this just for the sake of certainty. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of substantial projects that are are waiting on the uncertainty that's brought about by a grant funding suspension. That leads people to worry whose salaries are part funded or whatever it might be. So for everyone's sake, there needs to be a deadline put on it almost, and I know that's hard to do because you have to follow due process and you can't rush it either. So, I mean, that's easy said, and it's what we want. Again, it's what people want, but there comes a point where I think an element of the squeeze has to be put on for the sake of the game, and that however many hours of the day it takes to get this done, to get it done.
Well, there's also an argument that the report should be thoroughly independent and should not be a report which has been commissioned by the FAI. A very strong argument to that effect, and that's another issue. Sport Ireland, as you said, and Minister Ross will appear before the Oireachtas Committee tomorrow. We're all becoming very familiar with these Oireachtas Committees, back with our usual array of politicians, senators and TDs who we've come to know and love so well. The opening statement has been doing the rounds, and they make a number of points, Sport Ireland. Not only were they not notified, they say, of the material deterioration in the FAI's financial position in 2017. He said, John Tracy's going to say, it appears that the board of the FAI was similarly not notified that such a serious financial situation existed and was not reported to the FAI board is concerning from an internal financial control and general governance perspective. No kidding, I think, say all of us. A few interesting bits include the fact that the Grant Thornton report is going to be made available and provided to Sport Ireland, and that was something which wasn't clear last week. It seemed like the Grant Thornton report was going to be for FAI eyes only. The terms of reference for the review by Mazars will be provided to Sport Ireland once they are finalised. Once they're finalised, are the terms of review reference? I thought this thing was going to be prioritised and done far more quickly, and we're still waiting for terms of reference. But anyway, Sport Ireland will be consulted by Mazars as part of the review. And interestingly as well, Dan, I know you're a big fan of the Jonathan Hall and Associates report. That is going to be reviewed as well. That's going to be provided to Sport Ireland. This is the report which suggested John Delaney become Executive Vice President, and this be announced on the 23rd of March, the day of the Gibraltar game. So they're going to look into the Jonathan Hall and Associates report as well. Anything else? Oh, there's an audit. There's going to be an audit as well.
Yeah,
from Sport
the
Ireland.
audit. The review of the review. I mean, that's what we've reached now. Yeah. And obviously, the Sport Ireland mentioned that, it made reference to the ODCE engagement that the FAI has, which they believe to be substantial as well. So that's something that was mentioned too. And we also, tonight then, we've got some of the FAI responses to Sport Ireland as well, which have come out. So Sport Ireland had, to the Oireachtas, I apologise, some of the specific questions that the committee wanted answered last week, the FAI have written back with some responses. They have answered some, they haven't answered others. We're still waiting for clarity on that statement on the 18th of March, which said that all board members were informed of all matters. That isn't referred to in the statement. What we do know is that just some of the details around the 100,000, and I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to take a leap at quoting from it. But
it's okay.
That they didn't have funding in other accounts at the time that could have, didn't have options in other accounts at the time that could have resolved that €100,000 issue. So that will be teased out tomorrow. But I think the initial soundings would be that maybe while the FDI have formulated a response and have written to the Oireachtas Committee, I'm not sure if they've answered all the questions that the Oireachtas Committee were expected to be answered.
Yeah, that was a point last week where several of the representatives said, you 24 accounts between, the other 23 of them. Could you not have cobbled together the guts of 100 grand in an organisation with a turnover of 50 million? And it was never really dealt with. There was no information on that, so they're looking for clarification on that point. What time are they underway at tomorrow? Is this going to be another marathon session?
I can't imagine it would be as long. I think it'd be around 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I think it's a private session, 12, public at 1. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it would take as long, but I mean, I'd be, I don't know. I'm beyond making predictions now, I think.
No, fair enough. See. You guys must be all on first name basis with the security staff around there, swanning into Leinster House. Dan, how are you? Great to see you.
First name terms with some of the committee members at this stage. They are fairly willing and open to talk, must be said.
Yeah, I've no doubt.
Let's see how it pans out.
Okay, I presume we'll probably talk tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Care. Thanks very much. Dan McDonald, Irish Independent. You'll be all over that story tomorrow in the paper first thing. And now after the break, we're going to check in with Leon Blanche from our football sponsor, Boyle Sports. And in the course of the discussion, we will be referring to betting odds and gambling. So remember to gamble sensibly. And for more, you can check out gambleaware.ie or you can visit dunlewy.net. That's DUNLEWEY.net. Back in 1 sec.
Off the ball on News Talk.
There's nothing more annoying, nothing, than clicking start on a load of washing and then 2 minutes later you spot some manky socks on the floor. Well, it'll annoy you no more because at appliancesdelivered.ie we stock the Samsung Add Wash range, which lets you add stuff in during the wash through a cute little door, saving you putting on another load. Can you believe it? Go online and check it out, and remember, with Appliances Delivered, there's free delivery on all Samsung appliances. Shop the Add Wash range and get a free 5-year warranty. Terms and conditions apply.
Funny how small things matter most. Imagine if all 10 million cups of tea we drink in Ireland every day were powered by 100% green energy and not by burning fossil fuels. And imagine if all our dishwashers, hairdryers and TVs were powered by green energy too. Isn't that a future worth acting on? Go to sseelectricity.com now to view our range of switching offers and join us in changing the world, one cup of tea at a time. SSE Electricity. This is Generation Green. Terms and conditions apply.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Leon Blanche is with us. Evening, Leon.
Good evening, Joe. How are you?
Yeah, very well. We spoke last week ahead of the Manchester United-Barcelona game at Old Trafford, and we were expecting a bit of a thriller. Didn't quite happen. It was a bit mundane almost by Champions League knockout standards. So what odds, what chances of Manchester United turning things around at the Camp Nou?
Yeah, well, I think, Joe, looking at it probably from United's point of view tomorrow night, I think they're going to try and keep it as close as possible for as long as possible and maybe try and turn it into a 20-25 minute match if they can keep Barcelona out for that long. They're 7-1 to win the game tomorrow night. The draw is 4-1 and Barcelona are overwhelming odds on favourites at 5-2 I think if you're looking at United, Paul Pogba scored 2 penalties against West Ham, didn't do an awful lot more. He's 11-1 to score first. Or Marcus Rashford, who looked fairly sharp as soon as he came on. Great save from Fabianski to deny Rashford, but he's 9-1 to score first. But I don't know, Joe. I think it's probably a step too far. I think Barcelona, having got that away goal, they just soaked up pressure. So I think United are up against it, but no one gave them a chance when they went to PSG 2-0 down, so you just never know.
No, it's true. And in terms of Champions League outright, where are we at this stage? Like, how are people feeling about this tournament? It doesn't appear like there's a truly outstanding candidate like there has been in previous years.
No, and I think, Joe, probably like Barcelona are favourites at the minute.
Yeah.
They're 5-2 favourites. But then you've got like three sides that are right behind them in terms of the betting. You've got City, you've got Juventus, and you've got Liverpool, all available at 100-30. So I think, looking at it, I think most people are expecting probably them four sides to be in a semi-final, but you just never know. I mean, looking at Ajax there 4-1 to beat Juve.
Yeah.
That, of course, finished 1-1. And then I think out of all the four games, Liverpool are probably going to make it through. I think everyone would agree with that. But then on Wednesday night, you've got Man City taking on Spurs. And Spurs have had a little bit of form recently. City are 1-3. Spurs are actually 9-1 in a match against Man City. It looks a huge price. And in terms of qualifying, City are slight favourites at 7-10 and Spurs are only 11-10. So I think everyone's looking forward to seeing that second leg and seeing what type of tactics Pochettino tries to come up with again to deny City and try and stop their attacking players.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, minus Harry Kane as well, although they've done okay without him counterintuitively. So we'll see how it all plays out. Leon, thanks a mil, appreciate it.
All the best, Joe.
Cheers. Leon Blanche there from our football sponsor, Boyle Sports. And for more information, you can see offtheball.com/Boyle Sports. Remember to gamble sensibly. And if you're in need of any help or advice, then dunlewy.net is the place to go. DUNLEWEY.net. That is pretty much us done for this evening. Tomorrow morning, OTBAM is live as usual. All our social channels at 7:45. We're back here at 7 o'clock. Champions League will obviously be big. I'm sure we'll have the latest goings on at the Oireachtas Committee and a few more bits and pieces besides. Tom Dunn is on the way next. See you then. Good luck.